Great. Welcome to the first live that I have on the series of the Northern Wars. Interested to know firstly, if you guys have seen the series so far. I've got some ideas of where to take the characters. I'm going to be looking at different other types of stories that I can incorporate onto my channel. This is my first live, so interested to know what your thoughts are. So yeah, my series itself is actually set in an age of sail rising war. So basically, the series follows a fractured Royal Naval crew caught between duty, loyalty, survival. Enemy forces close in, and the command on the ship basically begins to crumble. Right at the heart of this conflict, of this particular story series, is Captain Harcourt. He's a commander. He's under suspicion. There's a love interest, Eleanor, whose personal ties threaten to unravel the line between loyalty and naval duty. There's sea battles. They're fought not only with cannon and steel, but through manipulation, sacrifice, and a lot of moral compromise. So quite interesting from that point of view. So what I'm interested in is any sort of questions you've got on it, any characters that you'd like to see incorporated into the story. But yeah, so essentially the first episode in this series is all about a fractured command. So the story basically opens up about a Royal Navy vessel that's under strain. Authorities divided, trust is thin, political pressures hang over each and every single decision. Captain Harcourt holds command in name, but doubts surrounding his judgment and loyalty. Beneath him, capable officers sense that the ship is actually drifting towards disaster. There's a character called Godwin. He's introduced as a dangerous, highly intelligent, but unpredictable figure. He operates in the shadows, manipulating events rather than confronting them directly. And from then on, quite early on, it's quite clear that he understands the naval warfare, human weakness, and fears better than most men. And he fears battle more than most men, so he tries to avoid it. But then obviously we've got Godwin's influence and how that's growing in the next episode. So Godwin begins to exerting his influence over the Whisperers, misdirection, as well as carefully timed provocations. His actions sow distrust among the officers and crew, subtly undermining Harcourt's authority without opening any challenging it. There are some minor incidents, like near misses and unexplained decisions that hint to someone steering events towards chaos. But meanwhile, Eleanor emerges as a central emotional anchor to the story. Her connection to Harcourt is actually quite complex, personal, and undersolved. Their shared history complicates command decisions, creating vulnerability that Godwin quietly observes in his later exploits. Then, so far, the third episode is centered about rising tensions at sea. So the ship enters an increasingly hostile waters, both politically and militarily. Encounters with enemy forces grow more frequent, and a threat to open conflict becomes, unavoidable. Gunnery drills, readiness inspections, and these tense exchanges between officers reflect crew and preparing for war whilst lacking uncertainty. But also, Godwin's behaviour becomes more overtly reckless. He tests boundaries, ignores protocols when it suits him, and demonstrates a willingness to risk lives and achieve larger objectives. His unpredictability actually makes him very feared, but also very difficult to confront without any sort of proof there. And then we move on to the next episode. I appreciate I'm going through all of this at the moment. And if you do have any questions, let me know. If you've got any thoughts about where we take the story, I'm very interested in that. If you're watching this after the live is live, don't worry. If you put it into the chat, I'll get back to you and we can have a conversation. But on the fourth episode, basically suspicion surrounding Harcourt's intensifies. Get some evidence and some real evidence. Some evidence has been planted, which suggests that he might actually be compromised or acting under external pressure. There's an attempt made to formally challenge and arrest him, but the situation collapses before a clean resolution can actually be reached. And this failure actually exposes how fragile the chain of command truly is. The ship's now in genuine danger, not just from an enemy, but from its own internal fractures as well. And then we come up to the fifth episode, and this is essentially where Godwin assumes control. So in the midst of escalating threats, Godwin effectively assumes command, whether it's officially recognized or not. He issues orders decisively to give and ignores at least one direct command from the government, provides willingness to act without permission, and if it means survival or victory, essentially. His leadership is brutal but effective. So the crew begins to follow him out of respect and fear and sheer necessity, but it becomes clear that Godwin's not simply reacting to events, he's actually shaping them himself. Then we move on to the next part, which is basically a disaster below deck. So a catastrophic accident occurs which involves the ship's powder magazine. I won't spoil that bit for you. It's quite dramatic though. But that's caused by negligent sabotage or deliberate manipulation. It remains unclear, but the explosion near detonates or kills and gravely injures members of the crew and sends shockwaves throughout the whole ship. This moment actually marks a turning point in the series, where the threat is no longer theoretical. The ship's actually wounded, morals are shaken, and trust is nearly destroyed. And then we end up towards the end of where we are at the moment in the series, where Eleanor is actually taken. So in the chaos that follows, Eleanor, which is a key protagonist of the love interest part of it now, she's captured and taken by the enemy forces. Her disappearance actually transforms the conflict from strategic struggle into a deeply personal one, particularly for Harcourt and Godwin. Her capture actually raises disturbing questions. Was she targeted deliberately? Was she used as leverage? Or simply a casualty of Godwin's larger game? So I'm interested in your thoughts. Any questions? Happy to answer them. I will get back to everyone in the comments. But yeah, if you want the series to go in any sort of particular direction, when I write these stories, I have a basic framework of what I want to happen, but I can take it in any different direction. So very interested in what your guys' thoughts are. Also as well, I've got some ideas about a whole new series that I want to write. So if the stories are too long, because at the moment I aim between sort of like 20 and 30 minutes, I'm thinking about having shorter story series around the oil industry and families taking over and family wars and, billionaires getting involved and things like that. So I'm just in the midst of starting to write one of those. But if you do have any ideas out of sort of stories, let me know and I'll see if I can put pen to paper for you. But that's about it for now. Like I say, it's my first ever live. I wanted to keep it short and punchy. But if you do have any comments or anything like that, please do let me know. I'm happy to engage. All right, thank you. Bye.